The towel is still damp on the floor. Your dog smells like fresh shampoo, their coat is clean, and for a few minutes, everything feels settled. Then you hear that familiar rhythmic sound, the back leg working at the same spot they were scratching before the bath even started. You stop and watch. Same location, same urgency, like the bath never happened at all. That quiet, sinking feeling is something a lot of dog owners know. You did the responsible thing. You took the time, used the right product, got them clean, and they are still uncomfortable. It is easy to wonder whether you missed something or whether something is wrong that a bath simply cannot reach. Here is the honest answer. A bath cleans the coat. It does not treat whatever is causing the itch underneath. The discomfort your dog feels has a source, and that source is still there. The reason is usually hiding in one of 5 places, and finding the right one changes everything you do next. Before we find it, it helps to understand why the bath felt like it should have worked. Bathing makes sense. When your dog is scratching and their skin looks irritated, washing them feels like the most direct, caring response available. You are removing whatever might be on the coat, dirt, pollen, something they rolled in, and giving their skin a fresh start. Nearly every attentive owner reaches for the same solution first because instinctively it feels like the right one. It is worth saying clearly that instinct is not wrong. Bathing is a reasonable, responsible first step. Not resolving the itch with a bath does not mean you failed your dog or missed something obvious. Itch has caused that soap and water were never designed to reach, and no amount of care during the bath changes that. What does matter is this repeated scratching is not just uncomfortable at the moment. Over time, self-trauma from persistent scratching can break down the skin surface, creating openings where bacteria and secondary infections can take hold and make everything significantly worse. So the bath was never the problem. But there is a catch most owners never hear about. That catch is the single idea that explains almost everything that follows. Here is the reframe that changes everything. A bath is genuinely useful. It removes dirt, loose allergens, and surface debris from the coat. For a dog with mild temporary irritation from something they walked through or rolled in, that can bring real relief. But the key word is surface. A bath works on what is sitting on top of the coat. It cannot reach the reason the itch started in the first place. Think of it this way. If your dog is itching because of an allergy, a parasite, a skin infection, or a compromised skin barrier, washing the coat addresses none of those things directly. The trigger is still present. The itch returns sometimes within minutes because nothing about the underlying cause has changed. This is not a failure of effort. It is simply a mismatch between the tool and the problem. What actually brings lasting relief is identifying and addressing the specific source. That source usually falls into one of 5 categories, and we are going to move through each one, starting with the easiest to fix and ending with the one owners overlook most, including exactly when the situation moves beyond home care. The first cause is also the most fixable, and it is about how the bath itself was done. This one surprises a lot of owners, because the instinct is to look past the bath for the answer. But sometimes the bath itself is contributing to the itch, not because bathing is harmful, but because of how it was done. Start with the product. Human shampoos are formulated for human skin, which has a different pH level than a dog's. Using them regularly can disrupt the natural balance of your dog's skin, leaving it more vulnerable to irritation. The same applies to harsh or heavily fragranced dog shampoos. Even a product labeled for dogs can cause a reaction in a sensitive animal if the formula does not suit their skin type. Then there is rinsing. This is the step most owners underestimate. Shampoo residue left on the skin after a bath does not just sit harmlessly, it can cause ongoing irritation that mimics the original itch, sometimes intensifying it. The standard worth working toward is rinsing until the water running off the coat is completely clear, with no trace of lather remaining. Water temperature matters too. Hot water feels soothing to us, but for already sensitive or inflamed dog skin, it can increase irritation. Cooler water closer to lukewarm or slightly below body temperature is genuinely calming to irritated skin. The same principle applies to drying. Hot air from a standard hairdryer can aggravate inflamed skin. Cool air is the safer choice. You may have heard that bathing too often is the problem. In reality, the frequency matters far less than the technique. Correct, gentle bathing can actually support skin health even done regularly. Fix the product, the rinse, and the temperature, and some dogs stop itching almost immediately. But if your dog still itches after those changes, the skin barrier underneath may already be stripped. That brings us to what is happening beneath the surface. Your dog's skin is not just a passive covering. It maintains a carefully balanced surface layer of natural oils that work as a protective seal, locking moisture in and keeping irritants out. When that barrier is intact, the skin stays comfortable and resilient. When it is disrupted, everything underneath becomes more vulnerable, and itch is often the first sign that something has shifted. Harsh shampoos, very hot water, and washing more frequently than the skin can recover from can all strip those natural oils away. What remains is skin that is dry, sometimes flaky, and significantly more reactive than it was before. Here's the part that confuses many owners. This kind of itch can actually appear or worsen right after a bath, precisely because the washing removed what little protection was left. The bath did not cause an allergic reaction. It simply revealed how depleted the barrier already was. The good news is that this is one of the more manageable causes. Switching to a gentle, moisturizing, or oatmeal-based shampoo can make a meaningful difference for dogs with dry or sensitive skin. A dog-specific conditioner used after washing helps restore some surface moisture. Omega-3 fatty acid supplements, often derived from fish oil, are frequently recommended by veterinarians to support skin health from the inside, though they work gradually and are best treated as long-term support rather than a quick fix. These steps genuinely help many dogs, but they are supportive measures, not cures. If the skin barrier was the only issue, you should notice improvement within a few weeks of consistent, gentle care. But if the skin looks completely normal and your dog is still itching, something invisible may be biting. And the most common invisible culprit is one owner who swears their dog does not have it. Most owners rule fleas out quickly. They check the coat, see nothing moving, and move on to other explanations. It is a reasonable response, but it can lead you in the wrong direction because the absence of visible fleas does not rule out a flea problem at all. Here is why. Some dogs develop flea allergy dermatitis, a genuine allergic reaction triggered not by an infestation but by the saliva in a single flea bite. For a dog with this sensitivity, one bite is enough to set off intense, persistent itching that continues long after the flea itself is gone. These dogs also tend to groom aggressively, licking, chewing, and scratching at the affected area, which removes the physical evidence before an owner ever thinks to look for it. The dog appears flea-free because they have been working to make themselves so. The location of the itch is one of the most useful clues here. Flea allergy dermatitis has a recognizable pattern: itching and irritation that concentrate on the lower back, the area around the tailhead, and the inner and rear thighs. If your dog is focused on those specific areas, fleas deserve a much closer look, regardless of what you can or cannot see. The most reliable home check is the flea dirt test. Comb through the coat, collect any small dark specks you find, and place them on a damp white paper towel. Flea dirt, which is digested blood, will leave a reddish-brown smear as it dissolves. Regular debris will not. Consistent, vet-recommended flea prevention applied to every pet in the household is the most effective response, and it needs to be maintained year-round in most climates. Flea control helps enormously when fleas are the cause, but if the itch is year-round, spread across the whole body, and nothing in the coat explains it, the cause may be rooted in the environment itself, which leads to the deeper, more frustrating category of causes. Before we go deeper, it helps to pause and organize what you already know about your dog's itch, because 3 specific details do most of the work of separating a surface problem from something that needs professional attention. The first is location, where your dog scratches most consistently. The tailhead, the paws, the belly, the face often points directly toward a category of cause. Patterns matter more than isolated incidents. The second is timing. Does the itch appear only after baths, suggesting a product or barrier issue? Does it come and go with the seasons, pointing toward environmental triggers? Or is it constant and year-round, which changes the picture considerably? The third is the skin itself. Is it visibly dry, red, flaky, or changed in any way? Or does it look completely normal despite the scratching? Hold those 3 observations in mind. They are the framework that separates what we have covered so far from the 2 causes that usually require a vet to properly identify. With those clues in mind, let us look at what lies underneath. If the itch has been going on for weeks or months, returns at the same time each year, or never fully resolves regardless of what you try, allergies deserve serious consideration. This is one of the most common underlying causes of chronic itch in dogs, and it is also one of the most frequently misread because the scratching looks the same whether the trigger is outside the dog or inside their food bowl. Atopic dermatitis is the clinical term for chronic allergic skin disease in dogs. It develops when the immune system overreacts to substances that most dogs tolerate without any difficulty, things like pollen, dust mites, mold spores, or grass. The resulting itch is not occasional. It is persistent, often intense, and tends to affect the paws, face, belly, and ears in recognizable patterns. Environmental allergies of this kind are frequently seasonal, flaring during specific months when particular allergens are at their highest concentration. A bath may offer brief relief by rinsing pollen from the coat, but within hours, the exposure resumes and the itch returns. Food allergies follow a different pattern. Unlike environmental triggers, food-related reactions tend to be year-round and consistent, unaffected by season or weather. Common culprits include certain proteins, beef, chicken, and dairy, appear frequently in veterinary discussions, though any ingredient can theoretically be involved. The challenge is that you cannot identify a food allergy by switching brands or trying a grain-free formula. Diagnosing a food allergy properly requires a strict elimination diet trial, typically lasting 8 to 12 weeks, using a novel protein or hydrolyzed diet recommended and guided by a veterinarian. During that period, nothing else passes, no treats, no table scraps, no flavored supplements. Both types of allergies share one important quality. They are difficult to confirm without veterinary involvement. Tracking when and where the itch occurs and bringing that pattern to your vet is the most useful thing you can do before an appointment. Allergies also open the door to something that quietly makes everything worse. That something is an infection the scratching itself creates. This is the cause that turns a manageable problem into a more complicated one, and it does not announce itself dramatically. It builds quietly in the background while the scratching continues. Here is the cycle. An underlying cause, whether it is dry skin, an allergy, or flea sensitivity, triggers itching. The dog scratches, licks, and chews at the affected area. Over time, that repeated self-trauma breaks down the skin surface. Broken skin is no longer an effective barrier, and two opportunistic organisms take advantage of that opening: bacteria, which can cause a condition called pyoderma, and a yeast called malassezia. Both are naturally present on healthy dog skin in small amounts. The problem begins when a compromised skin environment allows them to multiply beyond normal levels. The result is an additional independent source of itch layered on top of the original cause. This is why some dogs seem to get progressively itchier over time despite consistent home care. Scratching is no longer just a symptom. It has become part of the problem itself. There are observable clues that suggest an infection may have developed. A noticeable odor coming from the skin or coat distinct from normal dog smell is one of the more reliable early signals. Redness, oozing, greasy or crusty patches, and localized hair loss are others. These are not signs to manage at home with more bathing. Continuing to wash over broken or infected skin can worsen the irritation and delay proper treatment. A veterinarian can identify the specific organism involved through a simple skin examination and recommend the appropriate course of treatment. Without that step, the cycle simply continues. Knowing this changes when a bath is enough and when it clearly is not. So let us turn that understanding into a simple plan you can use tonight. Everything covered so far points toward one practical question: what should you actually do tonight? Here is a clear, prioritized plan, not an overwhelming checklist, but a logical sequence that moves from simple observation to knowing exactly when to stop and make the call. Start by observing the pattern. Note where your dog scratches most consistently: tailhead, paws, belly, face, and when the itch is worst. After baths only or constantly, seasonally or year-round? Write it down. That record becomes genuinely useful information when you speak to a vet, and it helps you notice whether things are improving or worsening over the coming days. Next, check for flea dirt. Use a fine comb, collect any small dark specks from the coat, and press them onto a damp white paper towel. A reddish-brown smear confirms flea activity. If you find it, contact your vet about appropriate prevention for every pet in the home. Then review your bath routine honestly. Are you using a gentle, dog-specific shampoo with a balanced formula? Are you rinsing until the water runs completely clear? Is the water temperature cool to lukewarm rather than hot? Are you drying with cool air instead of heat? Adjusting these details costs nothing and can produce noticeable improvement on its own. From there, consider supportive care. A soothing or oatmeal-based shampoo, a dog conditioner used after washing, and omega-3 supplements added to the diet can all support skin health over time. These are not cures, but they are meaningful additions for a dog with dry or reactive skin. Give any change at least 1 to 2 weeks before drawing conclusions. Now, the boundary that matters most. Some signs tell you clearly that home care is no longer the right response. Open sores, oozing skin, a persistent odor from the coat, significant hair loss, or an itch so relentless your dog cannot rest. These require a veterinary appointment, not another bath or a product switch. And some signs require immediate action. Facial swelling, sudden vomiting or diarrhea alongside skin symptoms, or any difficulty breathing are potential signs of a serious allergic reaction. Do not wait. Contact an emergency veterinary clinic right away. One last thing matters more than any single fix. Here is what this video comes down to. A bath cleans the coat, but it does not cure the reason your dog itches. The real cause is almost always one of 5 things. A technique or product problem in the bath itself, a stripped skin barrier, fleas that left before you could find them, an environmental or food allergy driving chronic inflammation, or a secondary infection that developed quietly while the scratching continued. Those 5 causes require 5 different responses, and knowing which one applies to your dog is what moves you from frustration to an actual solution. If you have been bathing your dog, repeatedly hoping the itch would finally stop, that was not carelessness. It was a caring instinct applied to a problem that needed a different tool. Itch has causes that sit well beneath the surface that even veterinarians sometimes need diagnostic testing to confirm. Not recognizing that immediately does not reflect on how much you love your dog. It reflects how genuinely hidden some of these causes are. What does reflect on you is what you do next. You notice the pattern? You looked for a real explanation rather than accepting the frustration as normal. You now have a clearer picture of what to observe, what to check, and when the situation moves beyond home care into professional territory. That attentiveness is precisely what protects a dog who cannot tell you where it hurts or why. Your dog experiences the world almost entirely through their body, and they rely on you to read what they cannot say. The fact that you are here asking the right questions already puts you ahead of where most owners start. If your dog is still scratching, drop a comment below and tell me where they itch most: paws, belly, or near the tail, and whether it happens only after baths or all the time. That pattern often points directly toward the cause, and you may find others in the comments dealing with exactly the same thing. If you want more plain English, vet-informed guides that help you understand what your dog cannot tell you, subscribe, because that is exactly what this channel is built to give you.